Is a teacher required? Absolutely. In fact, it's interesting. I was talking to a Vajrayana friend of mine just last week, and he was talking to a Lama friend of his, and he said, "So is a teacher really necessary?" He goes, "A teacher is absolutely essential." Now, in the Vajrayana tradition, a teacher actually is essential, and is essential for a number of reasons. For one, the practices themselves, the visualization practices, require a formal initiation and permission in order to practice. And they say that practicing without those kinds of authorizations and permissions is just going to be karmically messy. Yeah, there's an initiation practice, which is a whole nother topic that goes beyond the scope of what we're doing here. But also for another very practical reason, and that is that the actual specific mechanism of the yogas themselves is very complex and actually has to be demonstrated. And also a teacher is required because if one is truly successful at awakening these internal energies, there can be all kinds of energy distortions that occur within the body and within the mind. And so to have somebody that is already experienced in those phenomena and in those experiences is really quite necessary for the practitioner's own safety. So yeah, a teacher is actually required. Now, in terms of how the Dumo energy is activated, we have to precede that by a discussion of what is referred to as the extraordinary preliminary practices. Ngondro is the Tibetan name, and that involves doing 5 different kinds of activities, 111,111 times each. Well, that'll keep you busy for a little while. So one just kind of go, well, is that really necessary? Well, yes, it is necessary, both for the transformation of the physical state of the body, but also for a transformation of the mental state of the mind and the spiritual connection one has with one's guru or one's teacher. So the first of these preliminary practices is taking refuge, and taking refuge in the Buddha, taking refuge in the Dharma, taking refuge in the Sangha. And this isn't just simply a devotionary practice. I mean, when one takes refuge in the Buddha, it's not like worshiping the Buddha or anything like that, but it's saying like, hey, the Buddha was a human being that accomplished consummate awakening. If that human being could do it, maybe I could do it too. So it's an acknowledging that it is in fact possible for a human being, and it has been done. Taking refuge in the Dharma is the idea that, well, hey, the Buddha and other teachers that followed in his wake developed a variety of different practices, philosophical insights, and ways of orienting oneself in the practice that have in fact been effective for a lot of people. So if this is a whole system that works, this is something that one can also take refuge in. Taking refuge in the Sangha is the community of spiritual practitioners. And hey, any religion that you would be in, it's a lot of help that can be derived from having good communal relations with other people that are on the same path and hold the same values as yourself. Well, anyway, this is done 111,111 times, but while one is taking refuge, one is also doing full prostrations, going from kind of a standing place like this and going all the way down and out, and that's one prostration. So you're doing 111,111 prostrations. Now, some people, when they see that initially, they just kind of go, well, isn't that just kind of a little bit over the top in terms of self-abasement and humility and things like that? Well, that's not really the true function of this. When one is making these prostrations, it's not prostrations to your teacher, to the Buddha, etc. like that, but it is more fundamentally to your own potential as a being. So you're actually kind of making a full devoted prostration to your own process in doing that. So that's one thing on a psycho-spiritual level. But in terms of the physical practice themselves, you can imagine that manipulating the spine in that fashion is going to just change the whole nature of your vertebral column and the central nerve that travels down there in terms of the spinal cord and the more subtle channel of energy that we're talking about with respect to the avaduti or the sushumna that is the core of the practice. So you're actually reconditioning the body yogically in order to make it a fit instrument for the conduction of these high energy processes. In addition to those things, there is the chanting of the 100-syllable mantra to Vajrasattva. Vajrasattva means diamond being. And it is a process of basic purification, mental purification of the entire path that you're on, and a development of confidence and intentionality that's associated with that. The final two practices, because there are 5 in all, one is offering mandalas to the Guru and to all sentient beings 111,111 times. This is done in a variety of ways, but the basic idea is taking a circular mandala plan and then taking rice or some other kind of thing that can be actually poured on to distinctive parts of the mandala. And it's basically creating an intelligible spiritual universe and then offering that up for the benefit of all sentient beings. Then you wipe off all the stuff and you start all over again. So it's developing and perfecting the notion of generosity, that you really are developing this of offering the entire spiritual world to all all sentient beings. The final thing is also developing what is referred to as guru yoga. And so this comes back to that question, is a guru really necessary? So one engages in a process of entering into and connecting with the mind stream of your guru. So for example, I've done the Kala Chakra initiation several times, and except for one of those times, the Guru was His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So for me to do Guru Yoga in connection with these visualization practices with Kala Chakra, a very early part of that visualization practice is visualizing your Lama, in this particular case the Dalai Lama, as Kala Chakra. And then also realizing that he's an empty form, Kala Chakra is an empty form, I'm an empty form, we dissolve it all down into emptiness, and then I arise myself with the feeling of divine pride as being Kala Chakra, right? So it's done by connecting in the mind stream of the Guru who has already accomplished that. So it's developing this mind frame of visualizing your Guru as, in fact, a completely enlightened being. It has nothing to do with whether they actually are, but actually putting that up as an ideal that one can enter into that same mind stream that is pursuing the same. So yeah, a Guru is really quite necessary for these practices.